So the plan today is to go over some study skills. We're ahead, which is good. And actually, I quasi-planned it this way. I like to have like a week of sink in information, if that makes sense. Like have a week, at least a week between when the test is and when the material's done. I try to do as much as I can because that's how I learn, at least, like something to make sense later. So, and today I was going to focus on some test taking skills with test anxiety. I want to go over a little bit of procrastination. Over time we have left over, I downloaded a bunch of problems that, well, I looked to see where people were getting stuck, and then on the homework, and I got those downloaded and ready to go. So I guess we'll start with general test taking skills. So, and I don't know how you guys are, but I think the term is grade whore. I'm a total grade whore. So I like getting good grades. And there's a strategy. The strategy is to doing well in school. And I'm fortunate by the fact I'm the fourth generation to go to college, at least. I don't know about my great-grandfather, if someone before him went to college or not. So, but I mean, both of my parents went to college, and it was just kind of understood, like it wasn't if I was going to college, it was like, where are you going to go to college? It was just understood, like, you're going to college. And for me, like, it was understood that, I mean, homework time was for me. I had to do homework, and like my parents also were able to subconsciously teach me a lot of study skills and test taking skills. And the good news is that these can be learned. I know, especially especially here in Hawaii and Native Hawaiian culture, there's an issue. It's sometimes with especially Native Hawaiians that it's almost seen as selfish if you are focusing on your schoolwork rather than other things, other family responsibilities. So, but many of you are also first generation college students. So, but the good news is many of these skills can be taught. And here's just some general things for test preparation. So in chemistry, I mean, I actually do look at you guys and how you do, like when you do your homework and that kind of stuff. And some students just like the day before, 2-3 days before, just try to cram everything. And that is not the way to do chemistry, by the way. So certain classes you can do that with, right? So I'm teaching Chem 100. You could cram that. That's fine. History, you can do that for. Some communications classes, you can do that for. But like math classes and chemistry classes, language classes, well, at least not for me. I don't have that much of a knack for languages. I guess some people just, are so amazing with languages that it picks it up. But for me, I could not do that with a language class. So, but I've crammed lots of classes, like, I mean, I'm guilty of that too, right? So, but the really quantitative things, especially that have skill sets that rely on other skill sets, you need to let things sink in. So, and although a lot of these test preparation doesn't work for my class, though, partially because chemistry is so broad, and the way I test it now, I do it broadly. So, but a lot of teachers, though, you can almost tell. So I'm also teaching this just not for chemistry, for other classes. Certain, like when you take classes, pay attention to what the professor talks about. And you can also find ways around it. Like a lot of times people give verbal cues, like if you remember one thing from this chapter, that kind of thing. I took a class once, it was American history, and the teacher, she was very strongly opinionated in terms of the feminist theory. So every single paper that I wrote for her brought that up. I got the biggest, fattest A in that class. Another history class I took, it was with a Protestant minister, and I talked a lot about the Protestant Revolution in every single paper. It didn't even matter what it was about. Ancient Greece, and this later on, we'll talk about this later in the Protestant Revolution. I don't know. I mean, like, I found a way to include, that kind of stuff into my papers just because I wanted an A. So, unfortunately, chemistry doesn't work that way. So budget time, I'll talk about procrastination later. Review sessions, well, this is kind of a review session. We here, like when you go to a big university, there'll be discussion sections. So kind of what we're doing today is kind of like a discussion section. It's I know that they're kind of boring, but they are useful. You can even ask the instructor. So I mean, for me, I take a lot of things straight from the homework. So place before the test. So, oh yeah, okay. So general test taking tips. Eat before the test. So your body, I guess, depends. On average, the human body has about 5 liters of blood. And I mean, it's kind of like your body decides what to do depending on what you're doing. So like, so if you're working out really hard, notice your blood's going to your muscles kind of thing. If you eat a really big, heavy meal, your body puts a lot of blood towards your digestive system. And it's going to, I mean, there's only so much your body can work on at the same time and what you do. So having a really heavy meal right before a test is a bad idea. But having a light meal before a test is a good idea. It's better. Also, having no meal before a test or like coming to a test hungry, especially in like a ketoacidosis diet, that's a bad idea too. So because your brain runs off of sugar. Okay, so your muscles, right, we can run off of other things too with our muscles, but your brain requires sugar. At least it runs best off of sugar. So I mean glucose, runs off of glucose. So your body can run off of other things. I mean, so your brain can run off of like you can break down fats and proteins and run off of that. Just it doesn't work as well. So I mean, I found that out. It's funny you just rediscover things. I mean, I've been on a diet. I think I told you guys I'm on a diet. I remember I came to class and I've been trying to do the lower carb diet, and it's just like I was like dragging. I was like, man, it's even like this is a horrible time of the day. I think we already talked about that, And I was just dragging. I was just like, man. So now, of course, I tell you what to do. I eat a lot of cereal before I come. Oh, not a lot. I eat a bowl of cereal, and it's just like, my energy's up, and my brain works great. So have a lightish meal. Also, something I do. I still do this. I have. If I really get stuck, like if my brain just doesn't work, this is glucose. I'm holding up Zimmer's a thing of bottle caps candy. This is straight glucose. If you ever wonder if I'm like sitting there and I just like I'm dazed and I start popping some of these, I'm like all of a sudden hyper and it's like whatever Popeye eating spinach or something like that. That's what your brain runs off is glucose. It gives you a boost. So I bring candy to tests. So so if I'm starting to get stuck, I'll start eating candy, and that seems to help me. So also sleep. So so students that don't do well, I always contact them, and some of the things I ask is like, how did you sleep the night before? Is anything going on? And some students like, yeah, I got like 3 hours of sleep. If we're having a test, like say I know it's due on Wednesday. If you're planning on doing it Tuesday night and you get 3 hours of sleep, drop me an email and I'll give you an extension. I mean, that's just, you're not going to do well. You're not going to, if you're having really little sleep, you're not going to do well on a test. So, I mean, it's set yourself up for success, right? So sleep is part of it because your brain also needs sleep. We're not machines. So also not on this list is drugs. Certain drugs affect your brain. So some of the ones that classically affect you, well, obviously central nervous system depressants. So some of them that you don't see in the list, antihistamines. So Benadryl, Allegra, Claritin, they're all CNS, central nervous system depressants. So if you have to take them, like I mean, some of them are stronger than others. Benadryl is a pretty powerful CNS depressant. So Allegra and Claritin are lesser so. I mean, don't say I got a sniffly nose, I got a test. Like, better take that Benadryl. That's a bad idea. You know, it's going to be harder to think. You might get sleepy too. So, but I mean, if you regularly take a drug and if you don't take it, you're going to feel miserable, then you should take it. But I mean, understand that certain medications, even over the counter, are going to have, psychotropic effects on you. So, of course, other psychotropic drugs, I mean, obviously alcohol, you don't want to take a test drunk, so, and you probably don't want to be, blaring hungover either. So, I mean, but also caution yourself if you've ever heard of state-induced learning. So actually, I went to Spain when I was 16 years old, and mentioned not Mexico, but Spain. I mean, there's basically effectively back in the 90s, there was no drinking age. Europe has cracked down a little bit more now. But I mean, we used to consume some alcohol when I was in Spain. And I can speak, funny enough, I can speak Spain Spanish fairly well. It's very different than like Mexican Spanish and other places actually. So, but like I learned how to speak that and partially, listen to people talk about soccer. I know it's football there, but like learned all about the Real Madrid and the Barcelona, whatever the hell they are. But like, and I mean, so be careful about that. If you do study and then you start using recreational drugs, you might actually affect some of your performance a little bit. So, and I'm not advocating then that you take the test in the same altered state, but you can get certain type of learning that happens and it may be effective like under certain conditions. So also with certain drugs, some stay in your system for a while. So and one of them that are commonly used is cannabis. So marijuana, right? So it's lipophilic. So a lot of the drugs there are lipophilic. It means fat soluble. It sticks to your fatty tissues. And it sits there for a while, so especially THC, tetrahydrocannabinol. We're not exactly sure how it works, but one of the things it seems to do is it coats your neurons, your nerve cells. And I mean, I think I told you guys, I've never done drugs, so I don't know what it's, I've never, not even cannabis, so I don't know. But there are some certain things that suggest that THC coats your neurons and it makes things move more slowly. So, and it sticks in your system for a long time. I mean, like a month. So, of course, I mean, if this is something that's habitual for you, then I mean, it's probably, if it goes back to state-induced learning, but it's probably not a good idea to ingest or whatever, acquire a large dose of cannabinoids into your system, soon before you have to take a test. So, hopefully that's common sense, but I mean, it happens to some people. Also, so I'm going to jump ahead and talk about test anxiety. Many people feel test anxiety, and I can tell you as an instructor, it is the only thing more frustrating than the instructor is the frustration from the students. And test anxiety is a real thing. People can blank out. If you have test anxiety, there are certain things that can help you. And maybe it's endorphins. Endorphins are what can help. So a light workout before a test might help. Chocolate? Chocolate, dark chocolate especially. Dark chocolate's another one. So yeah, anything that increase endorphins. So I mean, I don't know, maybe acupuncture. I mean, there are other activities that increase endorphins, but commonly used ones are chocolate, dark chocolate especially, and light exercise. So you don't want to run a marathon before the test. Something just gets your heart rate going. So okay, and well, I mean, for my tests, they're open note, open book, but I do this too. Put main ideas, formulate a sheet, review it, and then easier to the concepts of the test. So This is how I studied organic chemistry. I mean, a lot of people are afraid of organic chemistry. I just went and I took a crib sheet, and even if you don't have to have a crib sheet, write one out. So crib sheet is a sheet you can take in the test. And I would write out the main ideas. I write out the generalized reactions for organic chemistry. I would just look at it like every once in a while, the day of, the day before. And then when it came time to the test, then I went through, and I thought it was relatively easy. The other thing you can do is called a dump. So you can store stuff in your short-term memory. And then when you get your test, just like, especially a paper test, like, see a blank sheet, just dump it, write it all down. So especially for essay tests, like if you, like the teacher says something like, oh, this happened in my history class I told you about, the one that had the Protestant minister. He said, like, all right, so we're going to have 9 here's a choice of 9 essays, you'll have 4 on the test. And so, like I picked 5 or something like that. And I kind of prepared it the night before, or not the night, but it was a couple days before it was the final. I remember it's the final exam. I prepared a couple of stuff. And actually what I did is I wrote an outline. And then when it came time to the test, I dumped the outline down on sheets of paper. And then I got to writing the test. And so that's a good idea for a couple things, for a couple reasons. So most teachers, and this is just in general personality, most teachers are B-type personalities, kind of the helper kind of personality. This is so over like generalization. A lot of people are type A personality, the go get them, aggressive kind of personality. And type B is more of the type A is more assertive and extroverted. Type B is more of the helper, introverted personality. Most teachers tend to be more the type B personality. I don't really fit neither. If any, I probably fit type A better because I'm like over the top extroverted. I don't know how much you guys know about me, but yeah, I'm like over the frickin' top extroverted. So, but most teachers actually are introverted and very reserved, believe it. And like, for me, I'm actually hyper at the end of teaching. Most teachers are drained after teaching. So anyways, my point is that teachers usually look to help you. They're not like, haha, I'm going to fail 50% of my students. It's a good day. That's not how there are teachers like that, but that's the exception to the rule. So if you take something and do a mind dump, especially for like a humanities class, and they see an outline, that's great for partial credit. So that's the other strategy for taking tests, is getting partial credit. So if you have an outline for an essay question, that's great, because then if you run out of time, the teacher can see where you're going. The other thing is, it helps you to tell the person where you're going. Because people are lazy, right? Everyone's lazy. Teachers are lazy. Students are lazy, right? We don't want to have to think. So if you see an outline, you're like, okay, this is where the student's going. You kind of already like decided to give that person a good grade because it's well thought out. Otherwise, and then just fill in all the filler stuff later. So, okay, and show up on time. Have a backup alarm. Oh yeah. So bathroom. I guess I hear a lot of horror stories about, I never not allow a student to go to the bathroom. Some teach at UH Manoa, they do this too. It's just like, why would you not let a student go to the bathroom? Like, they might go in the bathroom and look at their cell phones. Like, so what? Can't cheat in that way in chemistry, anyways. Anyway, so yeah. But then again, if you're thinking about something, you have to go to the bathroom. Like, oh god, it's just something you don't want on your mind. Okay, so the tests. And again, this is, of course, doesn't really apply to online testing, but do bring backups for things. Watch if you want. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more of the positive attitude with test anxiety. Keep your eyes on your paper. I see this happen a lot of times with students. like proctoring a test. And if you must know, a couple things about teachers, we usually can see what's going on, and especially in college, we just don't care because like you see students playing on their cell phones and computers, and just as long as you're not disturbing those students, I don't care what you do. I had a student that used to like she got hooked into a book and she like read like it was just reading a paperback book in the middle of class. I'm like, all right, that's cool, whatever. And I can kind of see like in tests, we're bored. I mean, it's boring to watch students take tests. I'm usually on Facebook or something like that. And like you look around and people do look at other tests. And actually, usually it's people are pacing it. You can kind of tell though. The students, they do it to pace themselves to other students. And like it's kind of funny sometimes too. I mean, like because I've been doing this this is my 16th year teaching full time, right? So it's funny to watch a student and look at someone, oh my gosh, that student is like, so far ahead of me. Like the truth of the matter is the students that finish really quickly, they usually don't score the best. So also the students that stay the longest also don't score the best. But like if it's like an hour test or something like that, and students out in 15 minutes, the student is just, I mean, occasionally a student's just that good, but it's usually a student just said like, what, screw it. I don't know any of this stuff. I'm just gonna fill in the answers and, go to the bar on campus, kind of thing.
Is that a personal story?
No. I can tell you personal stories about tests. It's more involves candy. I remember taking in grad school, I was taking a test and I couldn't think anymore. And I was eating jelly beans. I was like, all right, I'm done. But that was after like 3 hours. Like I say, have I ever quit a test to go drink alcohol? No, I haven't. I haven't actually. So yeah. So, and you get the test. So when the test is handed to you, read through the entire test. So don't look at question one, start doing question one, turn to page, question two, start doing question two. Read the entire test, because that way, I mean, your brain works in the background. So you'll be thinking about question two and question three. Also look in the test for other things, other pointers. Like you can find, like the questions themselves have information. I remember I was taking a Mandarin Chinese class because my wife speaks Chinese and I was trying to learn Chinese, and I didn't have the time to do it. And I was taking this, I get free tuition. So I was taking a test, and I had about a F+ understanding ability, but I got a C in the test because I was able to find the information in the test that could answer the questions. Like I couldn't remember like what 7 was or something like that. And, and you can kind of find that somewhere else, or like the characters, like, so, I mean, you can search the test and find information, then apply it to earlier stuff if you're missing something. So also, look in the classroom. So chemistry is usually pure too, but like I in my Chinese class, I positioned myself. I knew I wasn't really good with the numbers, so I picked the seat that had the poster that had the numbers on it. So I sat down, I could see the poster. So, I mean, I knew that's kind of in the gray area of cheating, but, hey, use the resources that you can find. So, okay, but, easy problems first, don't get stuck in a problem, waste all your time on it. Problem greatest values first. Well, it depends. That's a strategy point, of course, for my test, I don't time mine. So, but keep that in mind. It's all about a strategy and be effective. So be effective when you have that time in there. So don't rush to the question, read the entire question. And if you don't get something, go ask. And most teachers will give you hints. So my rule is that I will answer any definition or clarification questions. I won't answer strategy questions. Like, which value of R should I use? That's a strategy question. But like, what's the chemical symbol for mercury? And I was like, okay, Hg, So some students, just they get hung up on something. So if you feel yourself really hung up on something that's stupid, and again, like I don't proctor this test, so you can, just Google what is mercury and HGO. Google will tell you that.
You said that you don't have time limits?
Yeah. So you didn't notice that?
Well, I didn't know what to think about it. I thought there was hidden time right now.
Hidden time.
Oh no, you said 3 hours. So
Yeah, I know. I guess I did say that, but yeah, I did.
so, but okay.
Sorry, I guess I should have.
Like you're at home, you're like, 10 minutes.
I guess, well, to be honest with you guys, I lied. Because what you can do is you can actually come back to it later.
You can exit out and go back? No way.
Yeah.
That would be great to go through like my old problems that I answered.
So I shouldn't. Okay, I shouldn't. I lied to that then.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was kind of weirded out when I actually did the test. I did it in one sitting.
What I want you guys to do well, and I just understand. I mean, like, I think I told you like where education is going and what it means, and education is changing, and like the idea that we're not going to have reference material. I mean, if you're a brain surgeon, you have to know how to do brain surgery. You can't, but like something like chemistry. I mean, there's not really going to be a time challenge, something like that. And I would like, and like chemistry and classes like engineering, you just have to know your stuff. And I want to, how do I put this? I don't want to effectively give you guys mental amputations by requiring certain things. There's also software I could use. I don't use that to make you guys, stay on the screen. Yeah, there are things like that. At the same time, I don't want you to rely on a certain type of like reverse engineering things, because when you leave this class, then it's setting you up for failure, right? Because if you don't learn how to answer these questions properly and go through the thinking process, that's going to harm you in the long run. So, I mean, of course, I have no way of policing that. And I know I have no way of policing that. Well, actually, I know I could do is I could restrict you guys. I can do that with software, but I'm not going to do that. So, and part of it is because, like I said, I mean, people nowadays have access to Google and all that stuff. I mean, maybe if you're in a national park or something like that, and you want to see if something is made of gold or something, you don't have Google. But I mean, everywhere else, you have your cell phone signal, you have access to a lot of things. So the other thing is test anxiety. A lot of students have test anxiety. A lot of students have test anxiety, and just making things timed just seems to bother them the most. So it's funny though. I wonder if it's going to change, how people take the test now, because I can also check to see how long you spend on certain problems. I can also see when you take them too. So, all right. Read the whole question. You already know that. If you know the answer, skip it, come back to you. If people leave, don't worry about that. If you have time left over, go and look over. I mean, this makes sense. Oh yeah, make sure you put your name on the test. Of course, that doesn't matter for my class, but man, that is always such a pain. You can do that in the community college. So when I teach at UH Manoa, I have no idea about students' handwriting. And I hate doing that with labs and tests, because then you got to look through the students and then match handwriting, or something like that. That's such a pain. But if you're at a class that has, over 50 students, if you didn't put your name on the test, then you're stuck. Okay. All right, so we have multiple choice. So certain questions. So read the question before you look at the answers. Also there are different strategies for guessing penalty tests. So if there is a guessing penalty, if you can eliminate one of the questions to be wrong, you should, and you don't know, take the guess. Also, your first impression is usually right. I mean, you see so often that people change their answers to incorrect ones. So first impressions are usually correct. And if you can eliminate one, even with a guessing penalty, take it. My tests don't have testing or guessing penalty or whatever. So always answer whatever you can. And so if you have no idea, then that's up to you, whether or not you take the test or take the guess. It's if you really have no idea, it's probably better not to take one. So, and read all the above and only above questions. So if follow the logic, if all the above choices, if one of those statements is is wrong, don't pick all the above. And if one of them is true, don't pick none of the above. So generally true, a positive choice is more likely than a negative one. It doesn't really matter for chemistry, but something in another class like sociology or psychology, so, and usually correct answer is choice the most information. So that's multiple choice. Then we have, okay, quantitative. So quantitative, repetition. So I try to be good in this. I haven't given you guys any questions that were totally out of left field, right? There's nothing that you're like, never seen this before, right? So some teachers are like that though. So
Every single one, every single question will be like something similar, right?
yeah, or a similar concept. I mean, it won't necessarily be exactly the same. I'm asking you. I haven't done that to you guys, have I?
Just one question in the test that like I sat there for like so long and
Oh,
The water one.
was it a combination of concepts though?
I think it was about dehydrating something, and it was.
Oh.
But it was fun. I think we could have solved it with what we went over, but it's just a.
Okay, I do that though. I will combine concepts together into different systems. We're losing students on Zoom. Oh no.
It was just like taking it to the next level of what we were.
Yeah, that's fair game. Okay, so I mean, this point here when practicing, I mean, that's how you do ideally, but I mean, truth be told, I've reverse engineered stuff. It's like reverse engineering. Reverse engineering is also a good skill too. So, but I mean, it's ideal is if you can do it on your own, but if you have to reverse engineer, that's fine. Okay, so I already mentioned this. So make a crib sheet and do the formulas, and then when you get it, dump it. Do a mental dump on the test. And I try to also do this in class. If you notice, make estimates for your answers. If you don't know what 48 times 12 is, I mean, right now it's probably around 5,000. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So, oops, not 5,000, 500. What am I saying? Jeez. So yeah, 50 times 10, so that's 500. So show your work. So that's the other thing. The strategy with tests is to go for partial credit if you can. So do whatever you can to make and try to be as clear as you can too. So, and if you get a wrong answer and it's wrong, don't erase all of your work, especially if you move on, because that way the teacher can go through and assign partial credit. So, and open book, what you guys are doing. So everything is here is more or less repeated. So anybody have any questions so far? I think I had another one here. Is anything? No, I didn't really. So general thing, and of course it goes into test anxiety. Be prepared and feel prepared as much as you can. like I remember if you ever seen the meme for Lord of the Rings. I like nerdy things, if you hadn't guessed, but Lord of the Rings is like, you shall not pass with Gandalf. If you don't study, you shall not pass. So make sure you do that. So you don't want to show up the test sprinting and out of breath and sweating, and so it's of course again this goes in test anxiety. So try and get there early if you can. Listen to last minute instructions. So I tend not to do this. I know lots of teachers that do, though. At least alter test details the last minute. So memory dump, I already mentioned that. Read the test directions very carefully, watch for details. And strategize as you're taking the test. When I mentioned this, look for cues. So throughout the tests as well. So look for this, especially one. You look for cues from other questions. So teachers will put information, a lot of times accidentally put information on other questions. So maintain a positive attitude. So, and rely on first impressions. First impression is usually right. And if you have extra time, review it, especially doing the kind of order of magnitude calculations to see if you're right. So, all right, practice test. Okay. So, and moving on, let me talk about test anxiety. So, and this is from the Mayo Clinic. So generally something about test anxiety. So we're humans, and when we're put under stress, we enter something called the fight or flight response. So it's usually you see a bear. So I see a bear, I'm either going to fight the bear or I'm going to run away. So and you're really scared, and what happens is your kidneys release a hormone called adrenaline. Adrenaline goes to your liver, especially, and also your muscles, more your liver. Not my liver, I'm sorry, liver's on the right side. I'm not very good at biology. Liver's right here. That's pointing in my pancreas and my stomach. Liver, and our body stores sugar in the form of glycogen in our liver and our muscles, but adrenaline kind of tells your liver to release a bunch of glucose. And you get all this energy, and that's in the fight or flight response. Will I fight the bear or will I run away? And now, of course, we're not feral humans or whatever. We don't have to fight bears on a normal basis. We get anxious under social circumstances. So and like taking tests and talking to people socially and or getting into arguments. And what happens is in certain circumstances, adrenaline can be released and your body goes in a fight or flight response. And for some people, what happens is they experience a condition called blanking, where their brains just shut down. And that's part of the fight or flight response, though. I mean, if you see a bear, you're not like, okay, derivative slope of the tangent, as you're running away, right? You're not going to be thinking that. You're thinking, oh crap, I got to run, I got to find a rock to fight back this bear, right? So, but now that we're under stress and we have to use our brains, and that's the cause of stress. And what people can happen is especially, I feel this too. I get tight in my neck as well. You get tightness in your muscles, and that can also cause headaches, but that's honestly related to test anxiety. So, but people can, like I said, they can blank, and it's hard. It's hard because like certain students, I will go over the material with them and give them full test, or I'll look at their homework, like, you're doing great, and you failed the test. What happened? I was just so anxious. One student, I remember, his test anxiety was so bad. It was so bad. This was, of course, before even online homework. I had him take the test in Starbucks listening to music.
It's like good suggestion. Very funny.
Yeah. It's just and this was also even like a testing center didn't work, and the student like was so high strung, and he was a good student, and it was like, and chemistry is a requirement for many programs. I think the student was like a geology major or something like that. He just needed to have this class. And it was like he was so close to graduating. He was just so anxious. But after like a couple attempts, I was like, all right, what makes you happy and comfortable? And he's like, I like Starbucks. I like music. I'm like, all right, bring your headphones. We'll go to Starbucks. I'll read a book and you take the test.
Did you do good?
Yeah, student passed with a high mark. I'm not allowed to say, but we break FERPA rules, but especially not while I'm being recorded.
Setting yourself up.
Yeah, not today, FBI. Although that's not a jailable offense, but
Hold a good pen.
yeah, Congress doesn't care, or the courts, as far as I know. Anyways, so no, and I mean, like I said, some students just get this so horribly. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating for instructors. It's more frustrating for the students. And the ways to overcome it, I mean, understand what it is that you have test anxiety. If you have it, and like find a way to calm yourself. I mean, you can literally, there can be words like if you're blanking, I can see, is it possible to overcome test anxiety? For someone who's blanking, will see a blank page. So people can get it so bad. I don't tend to get test anxiety, thank heavens, but some people do. And the ways around it are endorphin levels, so light exercise, chocolate, light meal beforehand. So trying to be calm, trying to be happy, and so just being comfortable. I mean, and do whatever it takes. If you have a favorite pair of socks or something like that. What always bugged me though is like, and it's men that do this. They put on like Axe body spray or like, the fierce cologne from Abercrombie. And man, I just remember like whenever I taught at UH Manoa, I was just like I walk into that classroom like, whoa, it's just the smells, so
If you lie on match, the air just
yeah, combust. Yeah, we're at the combust, the explosive whatever point. So yeah, I would try to avoid it. I used to tell my students like, everybody wears X body spray and fails. So then they're all wearing something else. I've seen people come in pajamas. I've seen people come dressed up. There's one student, she came in like an evening dress, makeup, high heels. I'm like, whatever works, whatever makes you feel confident,
This is kind of relatable, but I went to a test tournament in Vegas, and it's kind of like a test. Like they have this big test, and to like distract their opponents, they would come in dressed up as like the guy from Frozen, Ollie.
Okay. Which one?
The snowman guy.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I was thinking about the scary one. Okay. Yeah.
Scary.
All right. You can dress as Olaf if you want. I mean, if it makes you comfortable. What's that?
Halloween next week.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Hopefully my costume comes. We'll see.
Do you come to class with a costume?
I was planning on it.
Does it land on a Monday or Wednesday?
It was Sunday.
Oh, it's like,
I was thinking Wednesday. If the stuff comes. I got my pink hoodie. I was gonna go as one of the guards in whatever Squid Game. Anyway, so what does that have to do about this class though? And not only test anxiety, but also like studying. So, I mean, you're taking your test at home or wherever. I mean, make your place comfortable, right? So, but also don't make it too comfortable. So like when you're studying, like a lot of times students will tell me like, oh, I studied really hard. I put a lot of hours. I'm like, well, how are you studying? Like, well, there's this chair I always read in and fall asleep. And then I start studying chemistry and I fall asleep. I'm like, all right, you have this, like, I mean, our bodies and our minds, well, more our minds, we chunk information with other stuff. If I set myself up, if I like every time I sit in this chair, I feel sleepy, and like, okay, well, I'm gonna sit in my favorite chair and study chemistry, and like I can't remember it. Why? Because you come here to sleep. So you have to pick a nice place, but maybe make yourself a little bit uncomfortable, like a wooden chair or a solid chair instead of a comfy chair, something like that. And also, kind of as much as you can, sit up straight, although I guess I shouldn't tell you. That's one of those do as I say, not as I do. I hunch over all the time. So, I mean, good posture is good, but I guess, just don't be like, super, super relaxed and then you want to fall asleep, Also kind of the environment. So if you're in a busy household and people are yelling at each other and you're like trying to study, that's not going to be very effective. Put on your noise canceling headphones. If you have nowhere else you can go, then try and do something, get some headphones to cancel out that sound. Same thing when you're taking the test now. So I mean, if you have your space that you're really good at studying in, and suddenly you go somewhere else, part of our brains, like I said, we chunk information previous. I mean, you guys already kind of have assigned seats. Actually, that's a good thing because it gets you used to learning. And so if you say, okay, I'm gonna pick somewhere else to take your test than where you're used to studying, actually, it's kind of hard for your brain to switch. So it's better if you can kind of find a spot in a routine that helps you. Like I said, be comfortable. I mean, if you want to wear your fuzzy bunny slippers while you're taking the test, by all means, wear your fuzzy bunny slippers, especially at home. And like I said in college, it's kind of funny. Like there are certain social norms that don't exist in college. So like if you had a meeting at the chairman of the board and you felt a little anxious and you showed up in fuzzy bunny slippers, you probably would get fired. Right, unless you've seen the movie True Genius, if you know the 80s. No, you haven't seen that one, no. Okay, but
Was it with?
Val Kilmer. So, I mean that's with this class and test anxiety, and like I said before, it's trying to be calm, keeping and it's hard to do. It's easier said than done, and there are also some carryovers to social anxiety. I normally don't get social anxiety, but I can tell you, like, did you guys feel this way after the pandemic? Like when we actually started socializing, I got social anxiety. I forgot how to talk to people.
First day of schools.
Yeah, and like I like people. I remember I forgot how to make small talk. Like when I was, I got out of the pandemic. I was just like hello. Do you like cereal for breakfast? I'm not socially awkward, I swear.
I felt more social after the I was like super.
You'd be more aware of just talking to people.
Yeah. And it's hard now with the masks.
Yeah.
Still, it's like, as I'm trying to because teaching there's feedback and like you guys are you I don't know, I'm trying to be more expressive of my body. I'm trying not to sit here like this, but I can read your eyes a little. Usually I can see people's faces, but it's hard.
It's weird that it's the norm now too. Like you can't know what
I never know what you're thinking anyway, so.
not a lot.
No, I'm teasing. I gotta be careful. Don't tease the students as you're teaching them. No, but other areas of the country, Hawaii is actually unique. Most of the places you don't need masks. So, so we'll see. We're starting next month. We had opened up our borders, so hopefully we'll see some restrictions lifted. So All right. How you doing, Zoomers? You have any questions? All right, I'm gonna go over a procrastination thing. And where is that? Oh, did I download it?
Can we not do it? Can we do it in this class?
Why do tomorrow what you can do the day after tomorrow? Yes. Yeah, I was gonna do procrastination, but I decided to do it next class. Yeah, good. No. Come on, PowerPoint. Oh, here we go. This is a new computer too. All right. Slideshow. Okay. Series attack. Oh, oh, good. Okay. Because I'm looking, I know I have mirrored screens and I don't want subtitles. Why is it time? Okay. So, you know, Christine Corey Smith, she's in charge of the Learning Center here. If you're familiar with her, but she came up with this presentation. So it's not me. Subtitles fine.
It's not sharing.
Oh, it's not? Okay. All right. All right. It's not sharing. Okay. You see this now?
Not yet.
Okay, let me do this.
I think it did stop screen share.
Where is it? Slideshow. Okay. Okay, and same screen desktop too. All right, you seeing that now?
Yep, thank you.
Where is the cursor? Okay. All right, here we go. All right, procrastination. And so I think everyone knows what procrastination is. So putting off tasks, you have something coming up. I got something coming up, but you know what? I'm gonna help my friend out, like, why not watch Netflix? So procrastination, what it is and what it isn't. So it is not laziness. So it is actually self-harm. So it's a really strange form of self-harm, procrastination. So procrastination is really weird, and humans are the only ones that do it, by the way. This is not behavior we see in other animals. So you injure your future self, but you blame your past self, right? So when you're procrastinating, you're kind of sticking it to the man, but you're sticking it to yourself, and you're blaming your past self. So, right, so like when you have something to do, you're like, oh, okay, I got my paper coming up, and you know what? I'm gonna do it later. I'm gonna go watch Squid Game on Netflix. I want to see what the teacher's costume is gonna be about. And Squid Game. It's 2:00 in the morning. You're like, oh, test due tomorrow or whatever, paper's due tomorrow. Crap. Like, darn you, past self, for putting me into this, right? So you're hurting your future self, and you're blaming your past self. So it's a really weird thing. It's a form of self-harm. So, and it's a bad idea, and no one can say, what, I really need to procrastinate more. I like my goals, a New Year's resolution, like, what, I gotta procrastinate a little bit more, right? So it's just how we evolved. And oops. So it has to do with negative emotions. And I guess to tie in some other stuff, We see this in chemistry. So I've seen this in chemistry. And I have a hypothesis about this. I have all sorts of weird educational hypotheses. This one's actually my mother's, though, so I can't claim for this. A lot of people growing up have really bad chemistry and math teachers. My high school chemistry teacher was horrible. So I think anything I succeeded in spite of him instead of because of him, kind of thing. We all have had horrible teachers. And the age that people start to be able to think hypothetically is usually between the ages of 12 and 18. And that's just human development. Sometimes people take a little longer even. So, but chemistry and math, especially math, is entirely hypothetical. Some people just aren't ready to think that way when they're 12 years old. And then when they become 18 years old, the light clicks on and they're great. But the problem is that between the stages of development, these students were made to feel stupid. And then there's an emotional response to things. So, and a lot combine that with bad teachers, and sometimes bad teachers feel like, okay, well, the way around this is to make the students feel uncomfortable, ridicule them, make them, So now, as students are getting ready to or start doing these hypothetical constructs like chemistry and math, there's this huge emotional barrier that they have to overcome. So, and I know I'm being very chemistry centric in this talk, but that is a problem. And well, hopefully my teddy bear like personality will help. I try to teach like I don't know if you know Bob Ross is. He's my inspiration. So but anyways, but that's for chemistry. Many students feel that way, the negative moods, and people don't like feeling bad. Another surprise thing. People don't like. That's another news. I need to feel miserable more often, right? No one likes to feel miserable. So what do you do when you know it's going to be uncomfortable? You avoid the task, right? So something's going to be painful. You avoid it. Like, I mean, lots of things are painful. Not even like physical pain. Actually, many times it's easier to deal with physical pain than it is emotional pain, right? I mean, like when you do physical therapy after an injury, it's going to hurt, but like, all right, I get my way through it. But then you're like, oh, learning Mandarin Chinese, I can never remember to count to 10. Then like, all right, I'll watch Netflix instead. So you're avoiding that pain. So, and how do you avoid it? And well, and what is an example of these negative moods? So boredom, like certain things, just don't grab your attention, So I hate, some things I hate doing. I hate writing student learning outcome reports. I hate grading lab reports. That's another thing I hate doing. Oh God, it's horrible. I'm sure it's not as much fun as you like writing them, right? Anxiety, we talked about the stress, insecurity, frustration, self-doubt. No one likes to feel dumb. Low self-esteem. Yeah, these are all bad things. And so how do you get around that? Future me will worry about it, right? So you have this cycle. Yeah, the cycle of procrastination. You have think about the deadline, then you get a notional response. So what do? You do something else. Watch Netflix, play with your cats. And then part of this, though, is that when you do these things, you get rewarded. Our brains release happy chemicals, dopamine especially. So, right? So, or I guess if you play with cats, that's serotonin more than dopamine. But we reward ourselves for avoiding work. And then what happens, though? Our stress goes up. So, and I mentioned this before, procrastination is a really unique thing because your present self is going to injure your future self, but you blame your past self. So the moment as you're procrastinating, you kind of, and you reward, even worse than that, you reward yourself, right? With happy brain chemicals while you're procrastinating. So it's a tough problem. It's a really tough problem. So, and it's also, procrastination is popular, right? It's kind of funny, your joke. Although I know I smiled, which you couldn't see, but I mean, if I took a vote like, hey, anybody would like to, let's procrastinate, like, anyone object? Of course everyone's going to say yes. So what do you do? What do you do to get rid of procrastination? So manage your emotions. Easier said than done, right? But now that understand the loop, right, where you're blaming your past self and sticking to your future self all the time, rewarding yourself for not engaging in the proper behaviors. So understand that, and then change that. Change the reward as well. So be like, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to grade 3 lab papers, and then I'm going to eat some jelly beans. So so you're rewarding yourself for something, or I'm going to start doing some chemistry classes, and then I'll watch an episode of Squid Game, something like that. Although be careful, because that's a very binge-worthy show. So, and then also forgive yourself, because that's another thing with the cycle of emotions. You're just going to be, if you're continuing to do that, you're going to be like, stupid past me kind of thing. So I'm so stupid, I'm a failure as a student. Don't think that way. So think like, okay, I'm human, I've made some mistakes, so let me do some things to overcome this procrastination. And so what do you do? So be aware. I already mentioned that. So I guess I'm already talking ahead with I'm not even procrastinating this procrastination talk. That's how good I am, right? So how do you do healthier ways? So focus on the next action. So for me, I mean, as much as I can, I try to break things up into smaller tasks. It's scary sometimes, when you get this huge monumental task ahead of you. And like, hopefully some of you one of these days will do this, write a thesis. So, I mean, writing a thesis is a scary thing. And I remember actually, I started writing my thesis like about a year before I even had to. I started doing sections that I knew I could do, like my experimental section or something like that. And I started preparing that. So you can break things into smaller tasks and focus on those. Or I say, thesis, it's a huge document, I can never write that, kind of thing. So look into smaller things. So if you have a test coming up or a paper, you're like, you know what, I'll prepare my bibliography. Or, I'll start by reviewing the chapter 1 stuff or something like that. Finals are coming up, on Thanksgiving break, when I have some time, I'll review the first test, kind of thing. Like try and do something like that. And the 5-minute rule. The 5-minute rule is, if you can do it in 5 minutes, just do it. So people say this about making your bed in the morning. Supposedly, really successful people make their beds every morning because it takes less than 5 minutes. So certain things, I mean, if you have the time to do something that takes 5 minutes, and do it. So like, I mean, it can be other things like around the house. Like, I guess, well, so you guys are pretty young. I don't know how much housework you have to do. Unload the dishwasher, fold the laundry. Well, fold laundry takes longer than 5 minutes, but take the laundry basket from the dryer to your room or something like that. Something like that. Match your socks and then do something else. So, and if you even tell yourself like that, like, all right, well, I'm hungry, I'll eat something, but I'll just fold my socks and I'll go eat something. And be like, I've already folded my socks, I might as well, fold the rest of my laundry, kind of thing. So once you start going on something, a lot of times you keep on going. So, and then that's like anti procrastination. You're helping your future self, right? So your future me is going to be happy. You're like, thank you, past self. Isn't it better than to be happy instead of, darn you, past self? So other thing you can do and make temptations, inconvenience. So this is something you do, you make it painful, like, all right, I mean, I'm relatively inflexible, so have you ever had to stretch out your IT band before? I don't know, that's painful. Like, all right, you can watch this YouTube video, but you have to stretch out your IT band, while you do it. So that way you can put like physical pain between you and doing something. And it's an extreme version of operant conditioning, for yourself, but something like that. So delete social media, use a very complicated password, so, and lastly, removing blocks make things easier. So what do you mean? Like, I know I'm using very non-academic examples for this, but like, say you want to get into better shape and your running shoes are at the back of your closet, don't put your running shoes in the back of your closet, put it by your door. So that way it's easier if you want to get into shape and go running, you just put on your running shoes and run out the door rather than have to like, oh gosh, I gotta dig through my closet, and go through all my chemistry books, to find my running shoes to finally go running. So it's easier to do things if you make things more easily accessible. It's the same thing with studying, right? So if you have your books on your desk ready to go, then it's easier to start studying. So how do we start? Questions? I did it again. I talked too much. So here is the show, and now we have 7 minutes of class left. So anyways, anybody have any questions? Did you like this more than the problem session, or was the problem session better? I mean, no one cares. Okay. Well, we got 7 minutes left. Does anybody have any questions, or did you want me to go over one of the problems? I guess I can go over one of the problems. Let's see here.
Maybe just choose the hardest problem.
The hardest problem. Well, give me a chapter then. I have chapter 5, 6, and 7. Which one did you find the hardest?
For me, probably 6 is the hardest.
Okay, this is the problem that most people. Oh, actually,
6 was sort of like 5.
this is the one that students had the hardest time with. Actually, you can see here, but this is the problem. So you can see 40% got it right. This was question 6.61. I don't think do I have time to show you how to do this though? Oh crap. We can see everybody got this right. Yeah. You see that? No, but okay, look at so this is what I see. If you're wondering so this course here, 100% of people got it right. And well, only 6 students, talking about procrastination. 6 students tried this. So you've already seen this, this gas mixture, but then massive gas present in a 1.35 liter sample at 25 degrees Celsius. So let's start off with 2, 1. Here, let me. Of course, now I can't see the problem. 216 tour and 2.15. Oh, 15. Shoot. Okay. And then it's asking for mass at 1.35 liters and 25 degrees Celsius. Okay. So I have these three gases. Oop, not Zoom meeting. There we go. So these three gases, N2, O2, and helium, and we know the mass of each at 1.35 liter, 25 degrees Celsius. So we do PV equals nRT, solve for N equals PV over RT, and I'll do it for nitrogen, the first one for nitrogen. So let me do N2 is going to be 216 torr ATM to 760 torr, volume 1.35 liters over R, 0.08206 liter atmosphere mole Kelvin, 298 Kelvin, because so this is going to be 25 plus 273. It's going to be 298 Kelvin. So you do that, and what is that going to be? Get too many apps on my phone. Got my dieting apps now too. 216 divided by 760 times 1.35 divided by 6 divided by 298. So doing this, you get 0. And an add. Ooh, now it thinks I'm 65 and older. 7 moles. And so we have the number of, okay, I guess I should have backed up. I was kind of trying to rush myself. So the question that that 4 out of 6 people got wrong. So we have this gas mixture. Everyone got the total pressure right, but they didn't know how to do the mass of each. So I'm showing you how to do the mass of nitrogen. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to figure out the number of moles of nitrogen and multiply by the molecular weight. So by using the ideal gas law, you solve for the number of moles. And now that I have the number of moles, 0.0157. So then it's going to be 157, sorry. 157 moles, N2 times 28 grams, N2 per mole, N2. And then I'll just go ahead and then multiply by 28. So this is going to be 0.439 grams nitrogen. And you have to do the rest then for oxygen and then helium. Same idea, same process, except for oxygen multiplied by 32, helium multiplied by 4. And then you get the mass of each and put it there. Anybody have any quick questions for 1 minute left?
So we add them all up and then we divide each one by 4.
That's my shut up alarm. So class is over, but let me answer the question. What's that?
So we divide like these numbers, I mean, individually by the total amount of moles added up, right? So we're going to multiply it to the total pressure. And that's how you get the partial pressure, right? We're trying to find partial pressure.
You're not trying to find partial pressure. So
Just the moles.
this question here, the first part is, what's the total pressure? You just add them up. Everyone got that. You can see here, everyone got that right. The problem is figuring out the what mass of each gas present in a 1.35 liter vessel at 25 degrees Celsius.
Oh, okay, okay.
So that's what I was showing you how to do the first. So, all right, any questions? All right, so, all right, class.
Real lecture.
Oh, you're welcome.